session. These are my notes for today. I've made an outline. I recognize and understand that I'm going to cover so many different things today and show so many different Easter eggs and things like that through Google that you may be like, what? Slow down, pause. And that's okay, because I'm going to record it so that you can watch this at your own leisure later. If you're British, you can watch this at your own leisure later, if you're so inclined. So I'm glad that you could all join me today. Thanks for giving up a little bit of your afternoon during our summer break. And so I'm glad that you're here. This is a part of the Tech Tuesday series. These are Tuesdays that are going to be happening all throughout the end of July, where we have sessions that are focused on technology, distance learning, just in response to the time that we're living in. Because for as much certainty as we have about things, there's an equal amount of certainty on the other side of the scale. And I'm a Libra, by the way, so maybe I'll use the scale analogy a lot today. But there's a lot of things that we don't know. We don't know, and I know that it makes us feel anxious. I don't know if there's any way to put that. It makes you feel anxious when your calling, your career, and your heart are all tied up into one thing, and you just don't know what the new norm is going to be. So we at the consortia want to offer some assistance thinking ahead of should we go back to a brick and mortar that we don't recognize, that maybe has staggered students, or we're flipping our classroom, or we're providing more virtual learning opportunities that are synchronous in the future. What are some tools that I can use? And so I'm going to be doing a series all throughout this summer called Google 101, where we are going to talk shop around all the Google applications and products that are out there, how they interact with one another, and how you can work more efficiently, as well as when we get into some of the other apps, thinking about student learning and engagement and how students can take some of these tools and we can collaborate and make learning look a little bit different during the conditions of the pandemic and everything. So just to kind of acclimate you, on your screen right now towards the bottom, there is what we call the little gray control ribbon. And if you move your mouse cursor down to the bottom of your screen, it'll pop up. If you want to turn your microphone on and ask a question, that's where you would turn your mic on. If you want to turn on or off your video, that's where you can do it from right there. And as well, if you want to call Commissioner Gordon, you just hit the little red phone button, and that dials from the Batcave right into the police office. Now, that will actually make you hang up this call, and you'll have to rejoin the call, rejoin this video conference as we go on. I also want to call your attention to the bottom control ribbon. There is a new feature called, well, it's not, closed captioning is not new. However, in Google Meets, there's some artificial intelligence where if you would like to follow along with closed captioning, you can press that button and the artificial intelligence will try and do a really good job at guessing what I'm saying. Now, it doesn't get the punctuation right every time, but it listens to inflection. So those of you that have turned on your closed captions, let's see if it tracks inflection. How is the weather today? What should we eat for dinner? So you should have seen a question mark pop up. It doesn't get it right all the time, but it is a great tool. It's a great accommodation or modification for those that want to follow along with closed captioning. If you want to type a chat, or if you want to add something textual to our discussion today, up in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, maybe I should do this, in this corner, there is a little text bubble, and there's also what looks like icons of people. If you click on the people, you'll see who's here today. If you click on the little text bubble, you can actually chat. I am joined by some colleagues today. So Dr. Chris Pryor's here. He's going to be moderating that chat. And so he'll call my attention or he'll answer whatever we need to do to help best serve you. So we'll keep it interactive. We'll keep it informal. We'll keep it real loose and fun. I am going to share a lot. If you were with me in the morning session over Edgy, you'll know I had a whole nice presentation, a slide deck built for that. However, for this, I'm going to have to show you so many different things. I really didn't think a slide deck was going to be applicable to that. But before we get started, does anyone have any questions? You can turn on your mic. You can chat in the chat box. Any questions, technical things before we get started? I'll give you a minute to think of anything.
Yeah, hey Adam, this is Edward Dryden from Baker County High School. I was curious as if you shared the outline that you were talking about. Did you already pre-share that so we could kind of follow along, or? I
did not, but that's a great idea. It may not make sense to you because it's kind of written in my shorthand, but that's a good question, Ed. So let me share with you now something. You just brought me into a good space. I'm going to share my screen with you. This is how we'll be running the meeting today. As I probably am about to appear on your screen, you'll be able to see my computer desktop as well as my face while I'm talking. And Ed just asked a good question about all the materials that accompany this. So I want to bring your attention to my calendar, because when we get done with this, I'm going to send you a follow-up calendar email for this event. If we look at what I did this morning for the Edgy group, I'm going to click on that. You'll see that I was able to attach the slide deck, the chat notes, as well as the recording. So you'll get an email that'll have links to the attachments, or if you already are using Google Calendar, you can go back to this day and access all the attachments there. And I can most certainly attach the outline for today there when we get done, and recording will automatically be added to that as well. So no pressure, but thank you for that question. That was a good one. Anything else?
Hey, Adam, I just wanted to clarify that we are recording this and we'll make it available after we're finished today.
Correct. Correct. All right. I'm going to email someone who is trying to get in real quick, but it should only take me, let's see. Okay. All right. So here we go. So first things first, I want to say that Google. So these notes, this outline that I've created is based a lot upon Google architecture, their apps, as well as questions that I've been asked over the last 5 or 6 year period. By the way, let me do a better introduction. My name is Adam Azula. I'm a program development and training specialist with the Northeast Florida Educational Consortium. I've been in education just shy of 15 years, and I've been with the consortia for 8 years. And I have been a proponent the last 6 years or so of basically exclusively moving over to Google tools and Google applications. I have an Android phone, and I have a Chromecast at the house. My whole world is connected by Google. And so that's really where I want to start today, is by saying we did make a joke about Big Brother watching. There's no doubt in my mind that Google is collecting data every time we use a product. That's a trade-off for the freeness of using things. I am a big proponent of reading the terms and services of any software that you agree to. I know that for most of us, when they say, do you agree to the terms and services? You click yes, you save, and you go on. But I am a proponent for knowing what you are signing up for. But I'm also a proponent for technology. And what do I mean by technology? I don't just mean digital technology. I mean technology in the tools of any woman or man's hands that make a difference and set a purpose for their life. What I love about Google and the Google suite of tools that we're going to explore this summer is that for someone like me, the ability to collaborate and to be creative and to have everything connected in one place is the trade-off for giving my data away. And also, I don't do anything that I would want to have appear in the Palaca Daily News. That's our local newspaper here in Palaca. I'm not doing anything on the internet that is going to cause shame to me or my family or my organization. Because I'm trying to be a steward of digital citizenship. Now, that's not to say that the Adam of 15 years ago was so inclined to take his digital presence seriously. But of course, as we grow, we learn more and we can change our mind and evolve. And that's a beautiful thing. And I know I'm kind of getting off a tangent here because what I want to start with is the most basic level of interaction with your account at Google is you can always access myaccount.google.com. All right. I'm not able to zoom in on that right now. Let me go back here. This is your homepage for everything related to identifying information and any data that's connected to your Google account. So again, that's myaccount.google.com. And we're just going to spend a little time here looking at what are some things that I should be aware of if I want to use my tools responsibly, and what are some things I should shy away from or buy into. And again, I'm not an expert, I'm a user, and I'm a rational user. I'm a pragmatic user of these things. So I'm skeptical, but also I need tools to get my job done. And for me, these are the tools that get it done. Now, if you would have asked Adam 10 years ago, what are your tools? Of course, it would have been all the Microsoft things, and I would have been saving everything that I had done onto one of these little flash drives here, and just ruining the day that if I ever lost one of these, what would happen to my life? I don't know if you remember that. Do you remember saving data to CD-ROMs? Do you remember 5 1/4 inch floppy disks and the 3, those days are gone. Those days, that's the horse and the carriage, right? We've moved beyond the flash drive onto these web-based, cloud-connected services. So the first thing I want to show you here is you see a nice picture of a much younger and skinnier Adam that was at the Players Championship. What you're looking at right now is my personal Gmail or my personal Google account. It governs all the Google tools that I use personally outside of work. Now, in the upper right-hand corner of any Google application page, you will see an image related to whatever account you're logged into at the moment. So for me, the way I like to work is I like to have both a Google private and a Google work account, because there are some times when I do things for work, I want to check and see what would it look like for someone on the other end and vice versa. So I need a service that allows me to be logged into multiple accounts at one time. So should I ever want to change accounts and go from my personal to my business or my work account, all I have to do is click on this icon and choose my @nefec.org domain account. It's a much different account because our organization, probably like your organization, participates in the Google for Education platform. So that gives us unlimited storage space on Drive, as well as access to other applications and resources that aren't a part of the standard platform and package for personal use. So again, if you have dual accounts though, you're going to want to make sure that the settings are set how you want them for both. And I'm not doing anything illicit. I don't even know what the dark web looks like. I have no problem sharing this personal stuff with you today, also because I know that you're not going to see my password. You're not going to see anything I don't want you to see. So the first thing is your personal information. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to briefly hit on these menu links that are on the left-hand side here, and just make sure we understand each other as to what these things mean and what these things do. And I'm going to use this through my personal account. Most things translate over to a work account as well, but there are shades of gray. And whenever I encounter something like that, I'll bring it to your attention. So the first thing that I want to do with my overarching Google account, again, this is the account I log in with my Android phone on and all of the applications and everything that I use on Google, is I want to check that my personal information is correct, and also that I'm not putting anything out on the web that I don't want people to see. So my basic profile, if you can remember when October 10th comes around, you can wish me a happy birthday because that's my birthday. Should I want to change my account photo, I could just simply click on the photo and select a new photo from my Google Drive or from my desktop. But I really like that photo. I'm standing next to the British Open winner Stuart Sink right there. It was a good golf day that day. Should I want to change my password, I could change that from here, as well as other contact information. I like to put a backup email account onto all of my accounts just in case I get locked out. That is something that you can do here as well. And then you'll notice Google says, choose what others see. And this is when you get a choice across all Google platforms. You got to remember, and some of you may not know, that Google runs, I don't want to say runs the internet, because really Amazon does a lot of the running of the internet. But Google is like the post office in the sense that if I want to send a letter from my house to my work, I don't know why I'd do that, but it's horrible. Maybe I want to send a letter to my mom. That sounds better. That sounds nice. When I type her address and zip code on the front of the envelope, the post office gets it there because it knows where that's at. It's the same thing with the internet and Google. Google is basically running the skeleton. So when you type in CNN.com or when you type in eBay.com or anything like that, it's the service behind the scenes that's going to get you to the address that you want to get to, and it's going to return everything back to you. So choosing what others see is important. For instance, if you'll notice on my account, I have it locked so that no one can see my gender and no one can see my birthday on the internet. Now, I do have contact information made available. That hasn't been an issue so far, but I don't have any other personally identifiable information on my Google account. You'll see the little lock icon is only you can see it on the internet, and the little visible to anyone icon means that anyone can look for that. So my Google looks different. So if I type in Adam Azula into Google, I'm going to get things that only I can see based on my account settings here. And because I'm saying Google a lot, if you hear my phone turn on, it's my Google Assistant who's trying to listen in and help me out. So that's the about me. That's the most basic level of account information that we can get to. Now we're going to get into a whole different realm of data, security, storage, things like that. So I'm going to take a look at data and personalization. This is a big thing, and I'm going to have to break this up into a couple chunks here. The first thing that I want to address in the room is add personalization. Google also runs one of the largest advertising agencies, we could call them, in the world. I'm sure all of you remember in the early 2000s the headache that we all had with pop-up ads. Do you remember pop-up ads? I had to go diagnose a computer problem at my dad's house because he was surfing some website and there was a pop-up ad and it looked like cockroaches crawling on your screen, and it was like, smash these cockroaches. So my dad just thought, well, this is amazing. I've got to smash the cockroaches because this is what it's telling me to do. Little did he know that in that banner ad that was used at the time, it was actually installing a virus onto his computer just by clicking on it. Google has done a lot to protect internet traffic by standardizing and how about normalizing? Because I'm not finding that right word. Normalizing and standardizing ads on the internet. And sometimes, and I don't know if this has ever happened with someone you live with, sometimes my wife and I are just convinced that our phones, despite our settings, are listening to us at all times. And maybe they are. If you've ever seen Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, you'll know that cell phones have some crazy technology out there, and they could essentially listen in on us. Because I may mention something about a sock company, or yes, that's where we are. We talk about socks together. And then all of a sudden on her Facebook ads, she's getting the same sock company that I mentioned. So I want to talk about ad personalization. So under data and personalization, we can go to ad settings, and this is showing me how ads are personalized. So I want you to take a look at some of these tiles that you see here. These are all the ways that Google is creating a filter bubble around my account. This is because I've either watched a video on YouTube, I've shopped on Amazon, I have done certain keywords, I've rented movies through Google Play, whatever it may be. My whole history of the last 12 years of using this personal account is kind of all classified here. So at one point I was looking up custom Nike shoes to make for myself. So now I've got athletic shoes here. I do play golf. So there is here's a golf little icon here. Now let's say I wasn't into computer and video games anymore. I don't want to get I don't want to be lumped into that filter bubble based on this. I can click on this and simply turn it off, and then it goes away. But I think you'll find this interesting on your accounts, how Google is defining you. I got a lot of stuff here: comics and animation, computer hardware, dogs, fashion and style. This is how the algorithm is trying to get to know me as a human. It's a little Westworldy, I know, but essentially that's what's happening here. Now you can turn ad personalization off to where these things aren't being tracked. But it's one of those things I would rather, if I'm going to get advertised to, I would rather it be something that's relevant than something that is not relevant to me at all. So those are ad personalizations. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go to things you create and do. This is another, I just find this stuff, I'm kind of geeking out just talking about this because I never get to talk about this. This section titled Things You Create and Do are going to show me what kind of Google applications I'm using, especially that I'm using the most. So I've got Maps, Drive, Gmail, Google Play. This may look very similar to yours. So I could go to this dashboard here, click on this dashboard, and look at what different types of services I'm using from Google. Some things I didn't even know were Google products as well. So in my Gmail, for example, 51,824 conversations. Like I said, it's been over about a 10 or 12 year period. In Playbooks, I've got 71 books that I have read and stored on that account. So this is a way to find out how much you're using or what you're using of Google applications. I'll show you how to get back to there. We are on myaccount.google.com. We're looking at data and personalization, and I just scrolled down to things that you create and things that you do. Now, something that I'm noticing here is my account storage is getting pretty full on my personal account. Google gives any personal account 15 gigabytes of free storage on the cloud, which is great. Dropbox for a while was only offering 2 gigabytes. And with Google, again, I've used this for years and years. I'm just now approaching 15 gigabytes. If I wanted to buy more, there are plans that cost as little as $1 a month to add. If you are using a Google account for your work, for school, it's unlimited storage. Basically, it's unlimited storage. So think about that when you are deciding where to store things, or if you want to link something to your personal, because if you link something from your school or district account to your personal account, it may eat up a lot of space on your personal account if you shared that. But here's where you can go look and see, well, how much have I actually used? And if I wanted to get down to the nitty gritty, I could click on manage, and it's going to show me where I'm using a lot of my data. It's not really photos, it's Gmail and what I have in my Google Drive that is killing my free storage space right now. And if you feel hesitant about clicking, and you're not going to mess anything up. Remember, this is your account. You can restore everything back to default. And you can always come back here and turn things on or off depending upon what you need to. There is a section for your data where you can totally delete your account. So if you wanted to delete, for instance, a personal account, you cannot do this with your school or district account. Only your IT admin support team would be able to do that. But on your personal, you could actually ask for a downloaded copy of all your data. I don't even know what that would look like for someone who has used their personal account for 10 years, but there is a way to do that. You can inactivate your account for a period of time, or you could just delete a specific service or your whole Google account. We're going to stay away from that right now. Those are some important areas to look at. Last thing I want to look at on this page are the activity controls. This is linking together everything that you do across a Google product into one place, and gives you control to delete what you want to delete away from your activity. So for instance, this will show me my web and app activity. So my usage of Chrome as a browser, my history, as well as any Google applications like Docs, Slides, Drawing, Gmail. I'll be able to see anything that I've ever done going back in time or over a range of time. And here's the freaky thing. It will show my location history as well. You see, being signed into Google on my laptop, where I'm talking to you from now, is the same as being logged in on my phone. I leave my GPS on all the time now because my job requires me to travel a lot and I need directions. And I also have some things that I do want it to locate me for. But we can turn that on or off. We can delete things. I'm going to show you some stuff that's pretty cool under these activity controls here. So I'm going to go to Manage Activity Controls. I can turn things on or off from here. Do I not want to be tracked? I could turn that off. Pause web and activity. I don't want to do that because I like the fact that if I look up a recipe on my desktop and I want to be able to access it on Chrome, it's in my history and all I have to do is just search for it without reinventing the wheel. You can delete your location history, everything that's associated with this account, all this through the Activity Control Center. Activity is a good word for it because these, again, are tools that describe our human behavior. My location history describes me as a human, how I move through space and time. I know it seems real erudite, maybe, I don't know, would be the right word, but it's how we track and look at things on spreadsheets. It's how this data moves around. So I'm going to look at my web and act activity. Let me go here. And I'm going to show you what this does. So here I have all of my anything that I've done on a Google product, essentially. So because I use Chrome as my web browser, because I use Gmail, because I use Grammarly, I'm going back in time now to show you that Google somewhere, and it's right here, is tracking all of that for me and keeping all of that information in one place. If I needed to search for something specific, like I know I went to this website, but I don't remember when or where it was. For instance, we were using Edgy this morning. So if I want to search my activity for Edgy, I could do that, and I'm going to get any time I went to an Edgy page or I typed something into a search bar, it's coming right here and it's showing me every time Edgy was mentioned. Now, here is what's real freaky. I don't know if any of you use voice commands with your device. Now, you can use Siri or you can use Google Assistant. But if you can see me on your video right now and you can see I've got my phone held up, if I say, "Okay, Google, what's the weather like tonight?"
Tonight in Palatka, it's predicted to be 75 degrees and cloudy. It's currently 84 degrees with showers.
So some of you may never use voice. Some of you may be like me, where I grew up watching Star Trek and Star Wars. All I wanted to do was talk to technology and have it talk back to me. Because the toy robots in the 80s, they were okay, but they weren't that great. But now they're amazing and fantastic. But let me show you what's the consequence of using voice searching and a voice assistant like the Google. I'm going to filter by date and product, and I'm going to scroll down. Notice these are all of the different Google applications that I could track my activity on and my history, and also what's being tracked by Google, right? I'm going to click on voice and audio. I'm going to hit apply, and what you're going to see now as I go back through time are different times that I've used my voice assistant. It records and saves it on Google servers every time I talk to my voice assistant. So for instance, here, I wanted to know what are Staples operating hours in Palatka, Florida. If I click on this, oops, I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. If I click on this little voice icon, the little microphone icon, and I click on view recording, let me turn my speakers up and hopefully you'll be able to hear this. Now this was me May 1st at 6:10. I needed to get something during the midst of the pandemic, right? And I needed to see if Staples was open.
What
are Staples operating hours, Palatka, Florida? Now, it's not the best quality, but it is saved here. So that is something that you as a user would want to know, is that anytime you use your Google Voice Assistant on an Android or even through Chrome on your laptop or a tablet, it is going to make a recording unless you change those settings. Now, I leave mine on because, again, I'm doing things like what's the weather, play Community on Netflix on the TV. I'm like, you know, I'm telling it specific things. Why it records your voice, there's a couple reasons. One is your device wants to know your voice. And the better it can know your voice, the more it has to hear you. So if I say, okay, Google, into my wife's phone, it does not respond to me. And vice versa. If she says, okay, Google, into my phone, it does not want to listen to her because it knows that I'm me based on analyzing all of this different data here. Okay.
Hey, Adam, we've got a question. If you could show how to get back to where you are now with the voice.
Sure. Yeah, no problem whatsoever. Let me go. Thank you for, I gotta find where I'm at right here. I got so many tabs opened up. All right. So really, I started with my account.google.com, and I went to data and personalization. This is how Google is learning about me and how it's saving my data. And then I went to the what are called the activity controls. So how you manage your data on a web-based tool. This is going to be where you go to do that. And I'm going to click on manage. And then these are like the overarching controls. I'm just going to click on manage activity for the web applications. And that's how I get back to this scrolling history of everything that I've done is from right here. Now you can change, again, I want you to know that these are here because I want you to know that you can change these. Because if there are consequences you don't like by using these tools, you should be able to personalize and use them however you see fit without giving up your data. Everyone has the right to liberty and to be tracked or to not be tracked. And so it's important to know where all this is. So this is managing my activity controls. That's where we're at right now.
Adam, there's another question about, it said, what about voice messaging on text?
Yes, that's a new thing. So I just noticed that on my Gboard for my Google messaging, that now there's a new logo to record a voice message to send through text. That would be something that does get stored here if you've given permissions for your app to store it. Now, by default, you give all your permissions away, right? That's why there are terms of services. If you don't like that, you just kind of need to spend some time here. And unfortunately, I mean, I could whack, it's already 1:39 and I'm probably behind. I'm just on like the first section of the outline here. Because if you're using this at a high volume, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of stuff to consider. But there's a lot of great YouTube videos too. If you're unsure about your settings, I would implore you to investigate and get it set up how you want it to be set up. Now, I'm going to go back to my activity controls because we looked at my web and my app activity. That's a fun phrase to say. But what about my location history? Okay, this is going to look really weird. I'm going to actually show you my activity, and this is based off of my phone and leaving my GPS on. This is going to take a second. All right, you should be able to see a map of pretty much the whole entire continental United States of America. Every red dot that you see is a trip that I made when I had my GPS turned on my phone. This goes back in time to when I first had this Google account, my personal account, and tied it to a phone. Once I tied it to a phone, once I turned my GPS location services on, it was being tracked. Now, why does Google do this? Well, for marketing purposes. There are also some telemetry things involved, and I'll show you maps in a second how this is a good thing. But what I really could do is go back all the way to the year 2009. Let's see if I took any trips in 2000. No, I didn't do it in 2009. If I go to 2010, no, I think that's when I had a phone with really bad GPS. Well, let's go to 2012. Okay, here in 2012, I got some, let's click on that. I went to LA in 2012, and these are the places that I went to in LA. The LA County Museum of Art. Where do we go to? Disneyland, of course. If you're going to be in California, why not? But this is keeping a record of where I went. And if this is all of November now, I'm looking at the different days in November. This is when my GPS was on. So if I click on, where are we at? Sunday, November 25th, 2012. This is how I traveled on Sunday, November 25th, 2012. I went, it looks like for some reason I stopped in the office on a Sunday, went to the Home Depot, went to the golf course, hit up Dunkin' Donuts, went to my friend's house. That was my day. Now I could delete this and nothing's going to happen. I'm going to delete it. And now that is not being stored on the Google server. So you could, in a sense, get this whole picture. I'm going to go back and just set this. These are all the places I've been in the US with my phone GPS on over the last, we'll call it 8 or 9 years that I've had good GPS on a phone. And this is being tracked. I also have my home and my work stored as specific places. You can store in Google your house address, your street address, as well as your work address. And I do this for the travel reasons, because if I'm out and let's say I am in, let's say I'm in Williston, or let's say I'm in Cedar Key, or I'm up in Jasper, and I tell my phone, okay, Google, it's going to do it. Let's watch it. Hold on. Let's start. Give me directions home.
The best way to get home by car is via Florida 100 West and Barden Road, and will take about 18 minutes.
So it knows. I want my devices to know. It is a trade-off. I know my data's here. I know they have it. But it's a trade-off to have that ease of access that I need and want in the moment. Of course, my dad would probably be appalled because, you know, I was expected to have Rand McNally all up inside the head when I was like 13 years old. And I still do. I can get my way around, but it's nice to have that. Also, in regards to why Google would track you using GPS is because of Google Maps. So let's say that right now I wanted to go from work to a place I wish I could go to right now, to Disney World. Let me move this. This is going to show me a couple of options. I like to take US 17 to get there. And if you'll notice down here at the very bottom of the screen, and I can't really zoom in, I get live traffic updates. So I'm going to turn that on, because if you've ever traveled in a larger city, like when I'm in LA or when I'm up the East Coast, and you've got lots of options for how to get around, it's nice to see live traffic. Now, how does Google know what live traffic is doing? And it looks like, honestly, in Orlando right now, the traffic's not so bad. You've got some orange spots, but actually everything is in the green and everything is flowing right now. So that's good to know. Other places across the nation, like in Nashville right now, we've got some traffic piled up. North of Franklin, outside Dixon. I sound like a weatherman. To get live traffic updates, any phone with maps that has GPS location enabled is sending telemetry data to satellites that then turn that into traffic updates. So if there was a wreck on I-4 that caused traffic to build up, everyone's phone who is running maps, and yes, you can have maps on an iOS Apple device, everyone's phone is now sending information to the satellite like, we're stuck here at 2 miles an hour on average, and that's going to translate into real-time directions here. Again, it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off to have tools and understanding what you're giving up, but you can opt out of these things if you opt out of them in the correct locations through your account. All right, are there any questions? I just totally vomited Google facts and things, and Chris did a good job of interrupting me. Does anybody have any questions around the data and personalization section of one's Google account? Because that's really where we were. Does anyone have any questions? You want to type in the chat box, or you just want to turn on your mic and ask? Is it Therese? I hope I pronounced this right. And I'm sorry if I don't, but that's a great question of how do they know which account to store information on? 100% this is an impressive question. On my phone, for example, if I go to my settings and I go to I'm going to go to my main settings, and I know you probably won't be able to see this. And I go to like my account settings or my Google settings, whichever I've logged into here first with, that's where information is going to be stored. Now I could choose my account and choose a totally different account. That's why this little icon at the top right-hand corner of any Google page is so important. Because whatever's up right here, that's where data is currently being stored to. So that's a really good question. So you should always familiarize yourself with which account am I logged into right now. On my phone, I'm logged in with my personal, because it's my personal phone. I pay for this phone every month. But when I open Google applications like Drive, and let's see, it thinks I'm talking, I can actually click my face icon on there as well and switch accounts. So because I have multiple accounts, and you saw when I look at my accounts, well, my wife's was here because she had to do some work on my computer the other night, but it's not on here anymore. But you've got to be familiar with flipping between a personal or work if you're going to have both. If you're not, then don't worry about it. But whichever one is the main one laying on top, that's where the data is going to be stored. And if you have both accounts logged in at the same time, but on different tabs, it's a great, let's look at that. So this was a great question that says, what if I'm logged in at the same time, but on different tabs? So I am that person right now. I am logged in. You're looking at my personal Google Drive account. How do I know it's my personal? Because I got my skinny British Open winner champion pick right here in the upper right-hand corner. But I also have another tab open where in the upper right-hand corner, I've got my NEFEC work account. So this is my NEFEC work account drive. I have both of these things open. but I can only be on one at any given time. So let's say I'm here. If I add a document, let's say I want to add a Google Doc, I'm only adding it to that account for the page which I was logged into, which if you look in the upper right-hand corner, it's my work and not my personal. But if I go back to my personal and I add a new Google Doc, notice the image up in the top right-hand corner is my personal. That's where that data is going to be saved. Now, to make that even more convoluted, because it was such a good question, if you look at the top of my taskbar, you'll notice that I am signed in to Chrome. I told you this is like the quilt that my grandma used to make, where it was the best quilt in the world because there were layers and layers and things. I am using a signed in version of my browser. So anything that I do on here, whether it's with my work or whether it's my personal, because I'm signed in with my personal, it's all going to get saved there. So there's so many layers here. And that's why knowing your account and setting it up so you can recognize and distinguish between work and personal is so important. The reason why I sign into Chrome is because I sign into Chrome on my laptop, on my desktop, as well as on my phone. And I want all my bookmarks, all my history, all my traffic to be connected across all devices, because it's important for me to be efficient to have that type of connectivity. Any other, and thank you, Katricia, for helping. Myaccount.google.com is how you get there. All right. Whew. So with that being said, yes, I'm sure some of you are probably like, you probably have this tab open, and then you probably have another tab where you're looking at your account settings right now, and you're like, I don't even remember searching for that. I don't even remember being there. You can kind of go down a rabbit hole when you start to get into the weeds here. So please interrupt. Please use the chat feature as we go on. Just a couple more things in the area of your whole account settings here. So there is a section, a link over here on the menu for security. It's not a bad idea to understand your security settings. Take this from someone who was the victim of a malicious attack. I got an email from someone I knew out in the district who I did share Google files with, and this was about 4 years ago. And they sent me something in an email, and I was like, what's this? So I clicked on it because we do have a history of collaborating on things, and it infected my personal Gmail account and sent spam emails to all 200 and something contacts in my address book. And from that point on, I knew that I was going to be vigilant with my security settings, because if there's nothing I abhor more in the world, it's looking like a punk who doesn't know what he's doing. And in that moment, when I got tricked and I got hacked, there's no better way to look at it. I was punked, except there was no Ashton Kutcher involved at all. I was just a punk. So I started to take my security settings much more serious. And the one way that I do that is by using what's called two-step or two-factor authentication. This means that whenever I log in to a Google app or a Google product for the first time, it's going to ask for my password. I'm going to put in my password. That's step one. Step two is I'm going to get a message on my phone that says, are you trying to log in from this location on this computer? If I click yes, that's my second step. That's my second factor to authenticate myself. There have been instances where my accounts have gotten hacked into. And with computer processors the way that they are, I know we get hard up on ourselves like, did I leave it on a sticky note on my desk? How did somebody in Russia get my Netflix password or get my Gmail password? It's not that you may have not left it out anywhere. It's just that there are processors that are fast enough now to run permutations of numbers and passwords to just crack the safe. There's no better way to put it. So I implore everyone across all security platforms, if you haven't already done this, enable two-step verification. I even have this set up for eBay. So if I log into eBay, I have to get a text message on my phone with a security code. Then I have to enter the security code in addition to my password. I know it's troublesome, but it also makes me feel like I'm in like the hunt for the Red October, or like I'm in a movie where we got nuclear launch codes and we have a protocol. I just like to think of it as that, like we're being super secure, like Alec Baldwin in Hunt for the Red October. That may miss, but so I would implore you to do that. You can adjust your security questions here. I don't know why favorite food was here, because I love food across the board. That would be a ridiculous question, but also a way to recover your account if it's lost. Having a recovery phone and a recovery email set up is going to ensure that someone's not going to hack your stuff. It seems like last year I had my eBay, my PayPal, and my Netflix accounts hacked somewhere in Russia. No fault of my own, but I didn't have two-factor authentication set up, and now I do across all those things. I can also see what devices am I currently signed into. So right now it's showing I'm signed into my laptop, this Windows box, my Samsung phone, and another Windows machine, and one more device, which is probably my Mac that I'm giving up. So I'm logged in on 4 different machines. It used to be fun back in the day when you'd go to like a public space, like in the office, and you go to use a shared computer and someone left their account logged in to change their photo or do something funny like that. I don't do that anymore. I just log somebody out. So if you are having to sign in to your account on multiple different machines, you may want to come to security and you may want to see how many machines am I actually logged into? Because if I'm logged into more than I need to be, or I forgot I'm logged into a computer in the media center and I don't need to be, you can do that. You can also find a lost device from here as well. So that's available through security. People and sharing, this is where you go to look at your contacts. I save every contact from my phone and my email. Right now I've got 213 contacts on my personal account. And this is how I have mine set up. If I get an email or a message for someone with contact info, Google automatically saves that for me, so I don't have to type it all out again. I have it auto saving because we just get so many emails and stuff that I need to save contact information, so it's important for me. I don't have anybody blocked, but should you ever have to block somebody, you could block someone from communicating with you on your Google apps and accounts by coming here to blocked and entering their name in. Payments and subscriptions. This is simply how you use Google to handle transactions. I have 2 services that I buy. You can see them right here. I have Disney Plus that I'm buying through Google. Not sure, because I should probably wait until the new Marvel shows or The Mandalorian season 2 come out, but I'm still subscribed, mainly because I like to watch The Bride of Boogity because it reminds me of my childhood. And I do subscribe to YouTube Premium. So any subscriptions, and some of you may not be aware of subscriptions. If you have teenagers at the house who may be entering in some recurring charges to websites and things like that, this is where you would come and see, what am I actually subscribing to right now, and can I delete that out? Oh, goodness, that was a lot. That was an hour of talking. I hope you're finding this valuable. Are there any questions? I'm going to look at the chat box right now. Does anyone want to... I love that, Rhonda. A training called Know Before, which has a game called Spot the Fish, teaching me to know what not to click on to get hacked. It's so important because hackers, whatever you want to call them, fishers, it's an art, it's a creative form to try and manipulate people, and they'll do all that they can do to do that. Any questions? Anybody want to turn on the mic and ask anything?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking on an iPad at my personal info, and you talked about like the birth date and the gender, locking it out. I don't see when I click on that information on the arrow, and it gives me the option to either lock it out or not lock it out. And I hit the lockout button. When I go back to it, I don't see a picture of a lock. Is that important?
Are you using your work account, or are you using your personal Google account right now?
Right now, it's my personal account.
Okay, I just sometimes when you make the big changes, what I like to call them, these are big changes. Sometimes it takes a couple minutes to update across all Google servers. So you may want to refresh that page or come back to it in 5 minutes. But if you want to hang on till the end of the call today, if it hasn't refreshed itself, I'll help you. We can take a look at that, okay?
Okay, fabulous. Thank you.
Awesome. If I sign up for a personal account in addition to my school account, will I have the same restrictions on my settings? It's different. You are more protected on your work account, and some of the settings on your school or district email are governed again by your IT administration team. So it does do a better job of protecting you and your data, I feel like, because it's more disciplined. It's a more disciplined approach to security whenever it's controlled by your IT department. So your personal, you're going to have more freedom with settings to control what you want turned on and what you want turned off. And I hope that helps. I want to show you one more thing that I love, again, because I do a lot of traveling, and I use maps on my phone just like everybody else, but there are some cool things that you can do with maps. So for instance, if I wanted directions from the office to Disney World, there is a button down here that says send directions to your phone. So if I'm planning a trip out, or if we're looking at directions, I can click send directions to your phone. It's going to say, where do you want me to send it to? You want me to email it to you? Do you want me to text it to you? Or do you want me to just send you the map to your device? I'm going to click on send it to my device, and then we'll see how long it takes. There we go. I got a notification that it's giving me directions from work. So that's just, I just like that. I just like that accessibility here. Also, if you are like me, you may want to plan a trip on Google Maps where you've got multiple destinations and stops. So for instance, if we want to go to Disney World, and then we want to go to, well, we'll go to the Salvador Dali Museum in St. Pete, we could make multiple stops along a route. Probably it's going to be more like, where's the Circle K in DeLand? or no, it's not a Circle K. It's a 7-Eleven in DeLand that I like to go to on the way. I could add that in here too. And you can add stops and destinations on your map. If you want to break it up like that, that's possible too. So that was just an aside that I was thinking of when it came to maps. But now what I want to do is actually talk about what we've all kind of remember about Google, and that's this homepage. It's rare that something in a lifetime starts off as a noun and then turns into a verb. We used to say, well, go to Google and look it up. Now we say, Google it. So just in such a short amount of time, this has had such an impact on so many people across the globe. But there are a lot of tips and tricks that can help you do your Google searching more efficiently. So I'm going to show you some little fun things. Number one, you can tell Google to do a barrel roll. And that is just a fun little Easter egg. I love doing that with elementary school kids because they think that that is the craziest thing in the world. I'll show you that again. Do a barrel roll. Google search has a good sense of humor, especially the developers there. So they like to include lots of Easter eggs. So if I type Google in 1998, watch what happens to my screen. Now we're looking at, remember, this is what Google looked like in 1998. And I could search and use it just like this if I want to. So that was Google in 1998. Also, if you get lost and you can't find your way to Kansas, you can type Wizard of Oz into Google and then click on the ruby red slippers. And let me make sure that my sound's up so you can hear this.
There is no place like home.
And you were there, and you were there, and you were there. Notice now we are at the beginning of the Wizard of Oz in Kansas, or maybe we've gone back, but we've lost that Technicolor MGM feel at the time. So if I click on the spinning tornado now we're back to the present. So I just Easter eggs. There was one that was popular last year when Endgame came out, the huge Marvel blockbuster, that if you type Thanos into Google, well, where is it? Hold on, I think I have to be back here. Let me try this. Well, now I'm looking dumb because now it's not going to work for me. But there was a way to control the Infinity Gauntlet from here. I'm also a little bit disappointed that that didn't work, because that's my favorite one. Anyway, let me get back to how Google searching works. The more you use Google, and I showed you those ad settings, the more Google learns about me, the more I get put into a filter bubble. I get put into this little bubble where Google as a machine is trying to use its intelligence to give me the best search results. But it's also doing it in this little cocoon of data that it's built around me. So for instance, if I want to search for text around Iran, and maybe thinking in a social studies vein, I can search for Iran here from Google, but it's going to give me search results that are, number one, tailored to my geography, which is the United States of America, specifically Florida, and not necessarily search results it would give someone who lives in Iran. So there are some tips and tricks that one can use when searching that makes searching a bit more efficient. One thing is using quotation marks. So If I put quotation marks around my search, I am only going to get search results that contain everything continuously as it appears here as a result. So watch. One small step for man. Everything that comes up, you'll notice one small step for man is going to be bold in the Google search results because that's what I put in quotation marks. I need to find this phrase or this term exactly. It's going to be different search results than if I just look for this up. Notice small step. I'm getting a lot of different results here than I got when I put everything in quotation marks. So quotation marks are important. What about hyphens? So let's say I'm doing a report on Mustangs. Now, when I say Mustangs, what's the first raw image that popped into your head? I want you to hold on to that. Because if I type in Mustangs into Google, is this what you were thinking first and foremost? Hey, cool. The 2020s are out. The 2021s are going to come through. I sure would love to have the Bullet Mustang from the Steve McQueen movie of the same name, whatever that may be. But what I was thinking in my head was about the horses. So if I get a search result that's like, oh yeah, words have multiple meanings, here's what I can do. I can leave Mustangs, but I can use the hyphen and directly next to it put car. Now I didn't put a space between the hyphen and car because I don't want there to be a space. What I'm saying to Google is I want to look up Mustangs, but anything that mentions a car, anything that mentions an automobile, I'm going to put another one in here. I don't want you to return that to me. I only want to see about horses. So if I click now, watch what happens. It's a totally different set of search results based upon the characters that I'm using in the search bar. So now I can actually watch some videos, read some articles, look at some blog posts around Mustangs as a horse, and that's via using the hyphen. The hyphen is like exclude this from search results. This works even in eBay. I don't know if any of you guys like eBay or even other search engines like Amazon, but if you use a hyphen with another word behind it, it'll exclude that word from any search. So you don't get any of that. So that is the exclusion. Now, let's say I want to look up something that's on a specific site. So for example, civics. Civics is very important to me. So if I look up civics, I'm going to get a dictionary definition. I'm getting some Wikipedia information over here, and I'm getting all these top search results. iCivics, NEA.org, American Progress. I've got all these search results, but no, I want to know what the Florida Department of Ed has published around civics. So I can leave civics, but now I can use a colon as part of my search. So what I can do is type in site, as in website, and I can actually type in the overall domain for fldoe.org. And when I click now, every single search result that comes back is going to be only from the DOE.org website, from the Florida DOE website. That's using the site colon. So for instance, I love golf. If I want to look up Phil Mickelson, if I'm like, I read an article about Phil Mickelson, but I can't remember what the title was, but I know that it was on PGA.com. Okay, I can type in Phil Mickelson, site, colon, no spaces. Remember, when you use these special characters, you don't want to use spaces. When I click that now, I'm going to get everything from PGA.com that mentioned Phil Mickelson here, all from PGA.com. Now, if I was to not do this, I'm going to get anything Phil Mickelson all across the entire Google domain of addresses. And I think about students doing searches for projects and things like that, how great some of these tips are. Like, no, I want you to find it, but I kind of want to wrangle in your search, because just searching everything isn't going to be fruitful if there's a tool that actually lets us hone in on an application or some content or whatever that may be. So that's the colon. Now, if I want to, here's another search bar trip. Maybe I want to find a PowerPoint on the Civil War. I'm teaching U.S. history in 10th grade. We're starting with Reconstruction and the Anaconda Plan and the causes and consequences of the Civil War. So if I type in Civil War by itself, I'm going to get all the standard Civil War things, whatever the most popular sites, history.com, of course, wikipedia.org, of course, those are going to be at the top. But if I say file type, colon, and I put PowerPoint, for example, file type, colon, PowerPoint, and I click that, every search result I now get is going to be a PowerPoint, not just a website, not what's just the most popular website that mentions this with the highest traffic, but everything here, you'll notice by the little PPT icon, is going to be a PowerPoint. Maybe I don't want a PowerPoint. Maybe I want a PDF file. Just click in PDF next to file type, and everything that I get is going to be a file type specific to those search terms. So these are some of the hacks. There are countless other search hacks that you can enable if you just know how to search for them. And I'm glad we're recording this, because there would be no way that I would ever be able to remember this. For those of you who teach social studies or numbers and series of numbers, like dates are important. The last one I'll leave you with, we'll do another golf related thing. So let's say I'm interested in, this sounds oddly specific, holes in one that were made during PGA sanctioned events between the years 1985 and 1989. Okay, so I'm going to put hole in one's PGA tour. And then if I put 1985 with 2, now this is not an ellipses, so there's not 3 dots. But if I put 2 dots and I put 1989, it's only going to search for data that contains dates within that time frame. So it's all going to be around holes in one, but it's only going to be about holes in one that happened, hopefully, between 1985 and 1989. So you'll see what kind of results I get if you look in what's bold: 1987, 1985, 1985, 1989. Using the double periods is a way to limit search results to look for specific years in that range, or values. If you're doing math, you may be doing something math related and you are looking through a range of values. You will get results returned in that range if you use 2 periods, no spaces between 2 different values or quantities there. So that was a lot. Are there any questions about Google search, Easter eggs, or I'm still bummed that the Thanos thing didn't work. That is really, I really wanted that to work because that is my favorite. Any questions?
Yes, Adam, I have a question. So what if you want to search for PowerPoints and PDFs only? Like, do you have to do them separately, or can you put it in the search bar to just give you results with PowerPoints and PDFs?
let's play with that. So let's say we were going to do fourth grade geometry. And I just want to know, and this is to all my math friends, I'm sorry. I know that it's probably not even a reporting category for fourth grade. But if I want to say, here, let's make this better. Let's do like 8th grade. Geometry, file type, PDF, and let's do file type PPT. Let's see what happens because I'm interested in this too. Ooh, we didn't match anything. So I'm wondering if it's because I'm an idiot and I'm searching for something that doesn't exist. But when I do it by itself, no, that didn't work. So it looks like, nope, and that's not going to work either. So it looks like we can only do one at a time when it comes to file type. But good question, Katricia.
Thank you.
Real good question. I have no idea where I learned all this. Just from being around the block. So you can, there are going to be some different situations where you could use equals or plus signs. You can play around with that. There are instances where, let's say I want to look up chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream, thinking in colors right now. If I use or, I'm only going to get results. Well, this is a horrible example. I'm going to stop here before I go on because I'm really getting hungry. It returns results that are either what's on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side whenever you do your searches. Let's see what Ed shared with us. This is great, Ed. Thank you for sharing this in the chat box. These are great. These are almost like little anchor charts and cheat sheets for Google. And this is a really good one. This has the stock information, the movie information. Yeah, all these. This is a great, thank you so much. I'm glad because we can attach this to this event as well. We haven't even scratched the surface, the conversions. Convert 10 meters to inches. The fact that we can do that, it blows my mind. Translate green into Spanish. And then being able to hear it. Verde. I love that. You can ask and demand so much of Google and it will just handle that. So thank you very much for sharing this guide here. And all the things that we talked about are here too, like the exclusion, what's in quotations, the little, all these little operator symbols. So that is great. Yeah, you can do all kinds of basic math things as a calculator here. Even, I'll show you a little trick and see if they still have it. If you have a phone, if you have a phone and let's say you're trying to hang a picture in your house, you can just type in bubble level onto your device. I know it's really hard to see. And it turns your phone into a bubble level so that you could actually put this on the wall and see, have I got the right angle or not? So all you have to do on your tablet or on your phone is type in there. Flip a coin or roll a die. Yep, that's a great way to randomize things in the classroom. You guys are just knocking it out of the park with, we're all putting all these things together. That's great. Yep, you could tell it to flip a coin or roll a die. I could say, no, I want to use a 12-sided die because I was a Dungeons and Dragons kid back in the day. I could automatically add numbers to rolls. It's amazing. What I do a lot in the classroom when I'm modeling or with adults is say, set a timer for 10 minutes, for example. And when I do this, I get this lovely little timer screen, and you can make it full screen. So in the classroom, if you wanted to, if you're projecting, for example, and you want students to kind of independently work or team together, you could set this up on as a visual cue, as a reminder of this is how much time you have left, or even include a stopwatch where you say go and then stop. It's all here, which is, again, such good tools, right? We live in such a fantastic time. Sometimes I feel like I'm an astronaut myself. It's okay, because learning's messy, Jennifer. There's no way to know it all. We saw what happened at the end of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. If you try to know it all, the aliens are just going to eat your brain away. There's no way to know it all. All right, if there's nothing else, I'm going to go on. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to move on to talk about Chrome. Everything you're seeing on my browser, this is what's called Chrome. Now, if you look down here, I've got Firefox too. And most everything, now I've just opened up Firefox. I don't want it to be my default. Most everything that can be done with Chrome can be done with Firefox, but because Google owns Chrome and the developers work with the other app developers, I find that all the applications work best when I use Chrome. Back in the day, Chrome was so new that the internet hadn't caught up. Remember, oh God, let's date ourselves. Remember like 2003, 2002, when some of us were using Internet Explorers, some of us were using Alta Vista, some of us were using, there used to be all kinds of browsers out there to use. Unfortunately, Internet Explorer has gone the way of the dodo bird, and the majority of content that's written for the internet is written to be seen in either Firefox or Chrome, what we're talking about today. Now, Chrome has its own account settings. So we looked at earlier our overarching My Google account, everything that controls Google. But I also have an account specific to my Chrome. So this is like a little sub account that lives underneath there. I could add other people if this was a shared device where other people could come and sign in. But because I'm signed in, I get all my extensions, I get all my bookmarks that you see right here. I get everything because it's all connected, and the same thing goes with my desktop, and the same thing goes with my phone. So I want to show you here, there are settings that govern your Chrome as well. And again, I'm a big proponent of taking ownership of security and of settings so that I know what I'm giving up and I can live with that at night versus not knowing what I'm giving up as far as data and things like that. So I've got my profile. If I wanted to stop syncing between my phone and other devices, I could do that. But again, I like the fact that everything syncs up together. I kind of want to show you a little trick, something that I learned. What we used to call the address bar in Internet Explorer and other programs, that's this place at the top of the browser where I can say, you know, Amazon.com. If I type in Amazon.com, it's going to take me there. In Chrome, however, this whole taskbar at the top is Google. So I don't have to go to a Google web page and go to like google.com. This This is something I'm trying to work with my father because sometimes it pains me to watch him use technology. And I got to remind myself he's like 76 or thereabouts. So I give him some grace, but he always wants to go to the Google page. And I tell him, you can type your same question in Chrome up here and get Google search results. So I'll show you what I mean by that. If I say, what's the forecast for Jacksonville?
I found this on Google.
Oh, my phone's talking to me. Then notice automatically I've typed my question in up there. It's doing the same thing. The Google address bar is Google. I don't know. It is the search engine in and of itself. And here is a very cool trick that I have just learned about. So this may be a reason to come back to the recording. One thing that you'll see is like my Google Drive is just packed with information, and I always have to optimize and make my life a little bit more efficient. So within the settings here, over across the left-hand side, oh, why can't I get to it? There is a menu link for search engine. So if I click on search engine and then I manage my search engines, here's what I want to show you. All these websites that you're seeing, these are places that I've visited that allow Google to search their website, using Google search tools to search their website. So something I did was I came down here to Google Drive. You can actually make a shortcut so that your browser performs different searches on different websites. Now that's going to sound very confusing, okay? But when I look at Google Drive, I want to be able to search from Google Drive right from my Chrome address bar, right from that taskbar. So what I've done is I have edited it so that if I type in the word drive, it's going to automatically search my Google Drive for me. Now that may be hard to visualize, so let's watch this. So if I come up here to the address bar and I click Drive, notice it says press tab to search Google Drive. So I'm going to press tab. Now if I do Civil War, I'm going to search my whole entire Google Drive for any documents, presentations, anything that has the keywords Civil War. And watch what happens when I click enter. Everything comes up. I know it's like the difference of a screen or two, but that makes a big difference in efficiency for me. So this is I know that this is an advanced thing as well here, and I'm like, where are all my pages? Let me show you that one more time. So under your settings for Chrome, you got all these different settings, and I went to search engine. Now my default search engine is Google. Sometimes you get a virus on your computer and it changes this and it sets it at something malicious like Bing or Yahoo.com or something like that. That's no good. But all these other websites that I have visited have built-in search engines, and I can use those to my advantage. Let me show you what I mean by that. So achievethecore.org. This is a website that I go to get lesson ideas, look at text sets for ELA. I love the Achieve the Core organization. So if I see that that's here under my manage search engine settings, I can edit this guy. And instead of the keyword achievethecore.org, I can type in AC, like AC Slater from Saved by the Bell. If I click in AC and I save that, and I come up to my address bar in Chrome and I type in AC and I hit tab, now I can look for things on the Achieve the Core website automatically. May not be a big idea or may not be a big deal, but in the game of efficiency, every click or two adds up when you're on your computer all day long. So that is an embedded setting under your Chrome settings for a search engine. I am looking through my notes here. There's also, oops, a zoom in's not working. Something that I really do like playing around with and showing people is I want you to take a look. You're looking at my browser, and I want you to see that there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. We'll call it like 20-something tabs open right now. What if I need all of those tabs open every time I launch Chrome? Well, there's a way to do that. You can click on Startup over here, so anytime Chrome starts up, and you can choose this option to continue where you left off. This means that if I were to X out of Chrome right now, if I was to exit the whole browser and start it fresh, that everything that was up and active is going to just pop back up into their respective tabs. Now, I don't want to do that right now because I'm joined in Google Meets here, and I don't want to delete myself from the meeting right now. But I love that option of picking up where you left off. And it just automatically opens any of the tabs that you were last working on. Or you can have your Chrome start up with a very specific set of pages. So maybe you want one tab that goes to your, like I've got to nefec.org, to my organization, one tab for Gmail or your other webmail. You could add pages on here so that every time you started up Chrome, you got those specific web pages. So I'm going to leave this. Let's see if I go to mail.google.com. I'm going to add that. Let's see if these settings will go ahead and take effect without me doing anything. So I'm going to try and open a new Chrome window. I don't think it had enough time to update yet. Plus, I've got everything else, but I don't want to take the chance of losing you guys on this meet. But again, you can just have it start up a blank new tab page. You can continue where you left off, or you can open a specific page or set of pages. Just depends on your work style. If you want your drive to pop up every time you turn on Chrome, you can type in the web address and it'll work for you just like that. Now, another thing is creating desktop shortcuts. So if you notice on my desktop here, there's a little Chrome icon, but it's got this little arrow, and it's like it's saying this is a shortcut right here. If I click that, then I automatically go to my work Google Calendar. It's real simple to create desktop shortcuts. Again, I'm always looking for shortcuts because I want to be efficient. But on your computer's desktop, if you right click and select new shortcut, it's going to say, where do you want to go? And if I were to type in mail.google.com and click next, oh, I don't think I can do that one. Let's say I want to go to, I don't know, Amazon.com. I think it's because I'm not putting it in the right format, HTTPS. And I'm going to name it Amazon and finish. Now I have a link right on my desktop. So I don't even have to open the browser up or type anything in. I can just simply click on that and Amazon's going to open up in my browser. I love productivity and efficiency tools. And it's kind of like if you have students with Chromebooks, you'll know that they have shortcuts on their Chromebooks that really limits them, that you click this, you're going to go here, that's what I want to have happen. So you can build shortcuts right on your desktop, as well as bookmarks like I have here. And I know that we're coming down to time, so let me choose wisely with what I want to share. If you want to hot rod your Chrome out, if you're a hot rodder like mine has a simple black theme, you can see all my tabs are black, and I do that to save battery and to save my eyesight a little bit. If you go to the Chrome store, so if you type in Chrome store in Google, it's going to bring up all of these different mini applications, extensions, add-ons that you can add to your browser to hot rod it out. There may be certain tools that you like that actually have a Chrome extension, something that you can add on to Chrome to make it work better for you. Then this is what I really love. There's themes. So themes are exactly what they sound like. You can add this if you want a wolf, if you want this celestial galaxy view or this metal look. You can search and find there are millions of different themes that are out there just to make it look the way you want it to look like. But then there are also these things called extensions. And extensions are little third-party apps that make Chrome act a little bit differently. So for example, if you look up in the upper right-hand corner of my Chrome browser, you're going to see that I have different little icons. Now, these aren't bookmarks, so these don't take me to websites. These are little hot-rodded pieces of my Chrome. So for one thing I have is ad block. I want to block ads on websites. So I have an ad blocker. I also have, I use poll everywhere. So I have poll everywhere. I've got Google image search. I'm going to show you that in a second. And I've got Grammarly. So Grammarly is great when I'm typing on a Google Doc or on a anything that I'm typing on. It's checking my grammar constantly. It's making sure I don't sound too angry or too defensive. Grammarly is a great free tool that helps you with grammar. So that's an extension that I use. Bitmoji to make a little emoji character of myself. I'll show you the reverse image search. So if I, let's say, I came across an image while I was in Chrome and I wanted to find out, I want to find other images like it, or I want to find out, is this the original image? Has it been copied? When you have this little extension installed on your device, you can actually search Google without words, but as an image. So let me show you what I mean. So if I bring up Captain America #1, an iconic Joe Simon cover, we're talking pre-Marvel Golden Age comic book. If you have a low-grade copy of this, you have a house, essentially. It's so valuable. I want to find other images of this. So when I have this little extension added to my Chrome, I can right-click and then search Google using this image. And this works on just about any website that you're looking at with Chrome. You can use search Google with this image. So when I search Google with this image, it's going to tell me a little bit about this image. It's going to say, well, this is how big it was, and this is what we think it's about. Captain America Comics Volume 1. And now look at all these images that it returned back. Very similar things. I'll be honest, here's how I use this. This may be TMI, so I'm glad Jen isn't here. But let's say I get on Let Go or Craigslist because I want to find some treasure. And so this guy says, I've got these comic books for sale. Send me X amount of dollars or come meet me and we'll we'll trade, and it's not as dangerous as it sounds, although it worries my mom a little bit. I will actually reverse image search for whatever image this person has added on their sale site, whether it's eBay, Craigslist, whatever, and see, is that an original image, or did someone steal it? Are they trying to trick me on the internet? Did they take an image from somewhere else? So that's why I like using the Google image search. So Chrome is a very, very powerful browser. Again, you can add things onto it to hot rod it out. I don't have the most exciting extensions. However, if you're a math instructor, there are extensions and add-ons for formulas to be able to write formulas and turn them into images, to solve formulas, things like that. There are a wonderful set of tools out there to be able to get that done. And really familiarize yourself with your settings. Let me make a comment about Incognito Windows. Some of you may not be able, you may not find this, like if you teach in Union County, your Chrome won't allow you to open an incognito window. I'm going to open an incognito. This is a feature of Chrome. Now, originally, the idea was, let's say you share a computer with your spouse, and it's your spouse's birthday, and you want to shop for gifts, but you don't want the shopping to be in the history of your browser. You don't want your spouse to be able to find out that you were shopping and you had this great surprise and a balloon ride and all that. If you go into incognito mode and notice the seriousness, it's not as incognito as you think. If you're using your school's network, if you're using some other, if you're at Starbucks, they can still see where you're going. Really, this just means that your browsing isn't being added to your activity controls. Remember, I showed you the web activity controls and how you can look at your search history. That's all that an incognito page in Google is doing, is it's just keeping out of your browsing history. If you go to a website through incognito mode that you normally sign into, you'll have to sign back in because it's not keeping any passwords, any autofill information. Sometimes when I use other people's laptops, I like to go into incognito mode because when I X out, when I close out this window, it automatically logs me out of all accounts. I'll repeat that. So let's say I forgot my laptop or it's in the shop and I need to borrow a colleague's. I will open up an incognito window, sign into all my accounts, do my work, and know that when I click the red X to shut down out of Chrome, that person's not going to be able to log into any of my accounts after the fact. They can't just open up a new Chrome tab and go back and get on any of my stuff. So if it's like a machine in a media center, or you're making a presentation in front of a group and you're logging into a strange machine, you may want to use an incognito window just so that you can log yourself out of all accounts by clicking the X up at the top here. And again, I implore you, come look at your settings, look at your privacy settings, make sure that it's set the way you want it to be set. And again, you can choose your on startup things as well from here. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to go look at the chat box. Yes, thank you. If you sync to other devices, can that cause harm if hacked? It could. I hate to say that it can't. I wish I could be more absolute, but it depends. When my email got hacked, it got all the contact information that was synced across all devices and resent out emails to all my contacts. So in a sense, yes. If you get a virus on one machine, is it going to affect another? Probably not. But malicious things can attack your apps, and that would affect all of devices. So it's kind of a vague answer, but be careful is the name of the game here. Thank you, Jake, for showing that. Yep, you can change settings and themes. That's one way, or go to your extensions from right there. I can't believe it's already 2:50, guys. I am like, I really wanted to get to Google Drive stuff, but this has been really good. I hope that you found this informational. But I kind of want to hear from you all. Are there any specific questions or concerns or ideas or anything that you want to throw out to the larger group here? This is a totally safe space. I'd love to hear. Are there any questions about Chrome or Google settings? And I might actually have to make another day for Google Drive. I know that the other Tuesdays we're going to be looking at specific apps like Sheets, Slides, Google Docs, but we may need to do something.
Yeah, one thing I ran into, Adam, is that that Google Drive, if you don't stay on top of it, it can end up being a mess. And it takes, I mean, I think I finally got mine a little bit squared away, but it took me several hours of sitting there diligently going through everything, trying to get it arranged. And I'm sure that there's got to be a better way to do business.
You know, Ed, you bring up such a good point. I'm at that pain point right now. There are some people who are so disciplined that, you know, I'm amazed by their discipline. When it comes to Google Drive, I'll just spend this last little 10 minutes, and anyone who wants to hang on with me, hang on. If you're ready to go to the house or go do your other stuff, that's fine. We're recording this. It'll be made available here. One thing that you'll see is that I've got a lot of folders in my drive. And I look at how other successful people organize their drive, and it's very different from how I'm organizing mine. Some people think big picture. So I was looking over someone's shoulder not too long ago, and I saw that there were only 5 folders whenever they started up. And I said, 5 folders? What are you doing? And then they showed me their hierarchy. One was 2019, one was 2018, 2017, 2016, and so on and so forth. They made a folder for the year. And inside of that folder, they had subfolders for the months. And inside that, they had subfolders for the weeks. Now, that's a crazy level of Zen discipline that we all don't have. And if you don't get started on the right foot, it's really hard to catch back up. So looking at my personal account here, I've got some work things, but then I've got hobbies. So one way that I was thinking about reorganizing my Google Drive was thinking big picture. What would the larger folders look like? I think there needs to be a folder for work. I think there needs to be a folder for hobbies. I think there needs to be a creative folder, only a few. And then within those, I need to be more regimented and organized. Now, a lot of people don't know that this isn't the only way you can look at your Google Drive. I wasn't a big user of this until a few months ago. This is so overwhelming, especially when you get into the individual files that I have in my Google Drive that aren't organized in any way. What I've started doing is using the little left caret next to my drive. And what that does is it shows me every folder over here on the left-hand side of my screen, which means that I can look for things like I've color-coded. That's one way of folder management I'm trying to get into. And I can go within inside of these folders from the left-hand side. Because if I don't do this, if I just go to my drive and I start clicking around like on, I don't know, absentee data, we got some spreadsheets. We don't even have anything in there. That wasn't a good one. Maybe it's data profile, big folder here. I got all this stuff. Well, now I can't go back, especially if I start getting deep in the weeds here. I can't see old files, but I can if I use left-handed navigation over on the left-hand side. I can click and go deeper. I can click and go deeper and go within each one of these folders, or just click directly onto a folder. So using that left-hand navigation helps. You'll see I've got color-coded file folders. That helps me too, and that's another way to distinguish. So if you right-click on a folder, you can actually change the color. So maybe for hobbies, it needs to be this light green so that my eye is drawn to this. Here's another hobby thing right here. So maybe I want to change everything that's hobby to have this green color so that I can quickly identify it. Now, if I shared these folders with other people, they would not see the color changes that I've made here. But if you rename this on your phone or on your tablet and you use emojis, they will see that. You can actually title things. I don't know if I have anything here on this account. Like, for example, in this file folder name, I have used emojis just so that it would stick out to me if I saw it and I can remember what's inside of there. Another thing that I use is, for years, I used Backup and Sync. It was a Google product that saved all of my cloud stuff on my machine. The problem is we get too much and it just bogs down the machine. Now I use a little program that I had the IT guys installed called Google File Stream. Let me show you what Google File Stream is. So we're probably all familiar with going to our File Explorer and finding different drives that we have on our computers. Remember when we used to have like CD-ROMs and other kinds of drives on our machines? But what Google File Stream does is it puts a little G drive on my computer. And when I click that, I can either go to my shared drives or my drive, and then I have access to all of my files, just like the normal Windows PC way of business. I'm not on a web page right now. I am logged in through my Google account to File Stream, but like if I'm attaching files or if I'm editing something quickly, it's nice to be able to do it from this view right here. I can attach things if I'm sending out an email. So that's called Google File Stream. It's a free application. If you don't have that, just talk to your IT department. It should be no problem whatsoever. This doesn't take up space on your computer like the old Backup and Sync did. And anytime I make a change, if I come down here, it's showing me what's been uploaded to my file, so I can see like what are any activities that is going on with my Google Drive. So that has helped tremendously, having the Google File Stream installed on my device. If you'll notice, it's thinking so hard right now because I'm giving it so many commands at the moment. It's like, nope. Let me just refresh this. I think I've just confused it. I'm getting this message that on my personal account, I've used 89% of my storage. That's a lot. It's almost 15 gigs. Let me change the layout view here. I'm going to look at some individual files. I want you to see this. That file space is determined with what kind of file is it. If you'll notice over here on the right hand side, Some things have just a little hyphen, just a little dash there with no file size. Look, I got a video that's 67 megabytes, but then I've got things with nothing. Anything that's a Google app, like a doc, a sheet, a slide, any of those Google apps, they do not take up any space on your drive. It's only other things like videos, PDFs, things that are made by companies that aren't Google, like anything Microsoft, like you're storing Word documents, you're storing Excel files, you're storing PowerPoints. Those all count against your space allotment on Google Drive. But anything that's a Google created app or product is not going to eat up any of the space on your drive. So that's another thing to know. As far as organization goes, I'm a big fan of starring certain items. So for example, I don't know what this document is right here, but if I right click on it and click add to starred, then you'll notice it gets a little star next to it. And then it's going to live under this menu link as starred. So these are the things that I've starred. These are the things that are the most important that I'm always working on. So if you add a star next to them, then they come and they will live here under the starred menu, and you can just quickly go back and work on them. Now, it looks a little bit different on my work account, because if you have a Google Education account, you've got what's called the priority space, and you can add current things or things you're collaborating on here to kind of set them aside from other files. Now, there's a lot of controversy around shared with me, because that's one of the best tools and applications of all these Google things, is the ability to collaborate and connect with coworkers, students, caregivers, whatever the audience may be. And if someone shared something with you, it's ended up here under the shared with me.
Adam, this was a huge issue when we first started with the online learning, trying to share documents back and forth. And one team member, he starts to do a little editing, and it's changing everybody's work. And trying to figure that out, we still haven't really figured it out, quite frankly. But that was a challenge.
Hey, you and everybody else is all I can say. I do know that when I do work with people from Baker County, something must have happened, because people always go, do you want me to make a copy of that, right? Like, you don't want me to edit your original. So something must have happened where, and I get it, because you may have shared something, but you may not necessarily have wanted work changed. You know what I mean? Especially if you're not on site with anyone. So what's cool about shared with me is that if I click here, I can actually search for someone's name. So this was my wife's name before we got married. If I search for her name, then anything that she shared with me comes up. If she was the one who shared with me, she may not be the owner, but she may have sharing rights. It comes up in this queue right here, which I really do like that feature. Now, that's not going to work if I go to my drive and I try to search for someone's name. That really only works when you go to shared with me. So if I search for my science buddy and comic book friend, Ryan Zimmerman here, anything that he shared with me comes up through the search. And so with shared with me, you've got a couple of options here. I'm going to go to 3 options. Eventually, you share so many things that it just gets hard to even navigate through this area. I mean, look at my personal one right here. It's crazy how much stuff has been shared with me or that I've shared here. So one option is to right click and to add it to starred. And this means that I don't have to go with my shared to me or my drive. I simply go to starred, and that ways to use Edgy thing is there. So I know it's there. Or I could, if you see this, add this to my own drive. Now, what does that mean? If I add this to my drive, that means it's now going to be under that heading. So it's not going to live in the shared with me. And I can decide, well, I really want to put this in a specific folder here. And this is what you have to be disciplined with, is whenever you get something, you got to spend the time to organize and make sure it's where you want it to be. If not, we get so busy and we get so many documents and things that it can be overwhelming. So if I want to put this into a folder I've created, I know it's like going down a rabbit hole for Edgy. If I add that, then it's going to move from shared with me to my drive, and I'll be able to find it under the My Drive heading. Or the third way is to make a copy. So let's say someone shared this presentation with me and I don't want to mess up their work, but I need to do some stuff with it. And so you can make a copy of something that's shared with you and then add that copy to your own drive and out of the shared drive quarantine area, for lack of a better term. But that's essentially what's going on with my drive and what's shared. Some people have a philosophy that if someone shared something with me, I'm leaving it in the shared space. I don't want to mess with it and confuse it. My drive is everything I'm the owner of and that I've created, and that's the distinction that I want to be. But it doesn't have to be that way also.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that clears it up. What we figured out was if you just kept in mind who was the owner of the form, and if you wanted to make changes and tweak it for yourself to do just what you said, copy it over, make your own copy, and then play with it, because otherwise we're all working on the same document, which is what got us messed up in the beginning. Yeah,
you bring up a good point. I think with anything Google that you can collaborate, you can have up to 50 people at a time editing a doc. I've tried that one time. I'll never try that again. It's not bad when you've got some like two colleagues and you're sitting there and you're like, will you take that paragraph? I'm going to make a table. That's not bad. When you get 50 people, and this is something to think about with students in the classroom, because if you have, like, let's say we were teaching culinary arts and we're getting ready for our Safe Serve test or our Serve Safe test, and we're doing book work, and I've assigned a Google Doc for, I got 60 students of multiple sections in the same period. We're going to crash that document if we're all on there, and everyone's going to be frustrated if they're trying to work on it at the same time too. But I know that I've gone over time, but the last thing that I just want to share as far as staying organized here is to use the advanced search feature that's located here. So I could, if I wanted to, type in Civil War. This is going to find anything across my drive that has Civil War mentioned in it. But notice I get PowerPoints, I get PDFs, I get Google Docs, I get Word items. If I use this little search options character here, I can define a lot of parameters to save myself some time. So I only want to search for Google Slides presentations. Maybe I want to say, well, the owner is a specific person, or maybe not. Location anywhere, and something that was modified in the last I don't know. We'll go back 2 years. We'll try to go back 2 years. Between now and today's date. I'm going to click search. And now I'm only going to get slide presentations that match that. Again, notice the little use of the colon. Google's doing the work for you like I showed you earlier with file type. And that is just by using the advanced search feature that is built into the search bar here. Now, if nothing's in the search bar on your Google Drive, you could quickly look for, well, show me every video that I have. And so anything that's a video is going to come up. That's just limiting it to file type, but using the advanced search will allow me to actually type in specific keywords or ownership or anything like that. And there we go. There's a video called Summer Golf that's inside my, I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's summer golf. So anyway, that's another way to just stay organized. I am so sorry that I have taken up so much of your afternoon. I hope in any case that you've been comfortable, that you've had lots of liquids and snacks the whole time, that you've taken a break on your own. But I get so excited about this kind of stuff, and I get excited about learning together that hopefully it doesn't come off the wrong way. Are there any other questions that anyone has? I'd love to answer them. If not, thank you so much. I totally appreciate and honor your time and you voluntarily being here today. I appreciate it so much. So totally understand if you've got some other pressing thing or you've got to get somewhere. But also at the same time, I'll open it up to the chat box or to the microphones if anyone has a question that they would like to ask.
Hey, I don't have any questions, Adam. I just wanted to say thanks. Great job. Much appreciated. Looking forward to the next one.
All right. Thank you very much, Ed. I hope you have a good afternoon. Well, if there's nothing else, I am going to send you another email, or you can look on your calendar. We'll store the recording there. So you can go back if you need to fast forward or pause it on a particular spot, you'll be able to do that.
Adam, I wanted to ask a question.
Okay.
It's all about the issue of personal, what was it, the security thing?
Yeah.
It's not showing the lock, but when I click the arrow and I have a choice between only you and anyone, only you is highlighted.
Okay, so that means that only you're, can you hold your tablet up to the,
Yeah.
We'll do some good old-fashioned troubleshooting here. Hold it real close to the,
I can't see what you're seeing, so.
Go in just a little bit closer. It looks like it's, from what I can tell, it looks like it's good, that is only visible to you.
Yeah, that's what it shows on my laptop and also on the iPad.
Okay, good. And that's how you want it to be, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think you're good to go then. I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Anything else from anybody who's hanging around?
Somebody had a question about the sharing in the chat that didn't get answered.
Oh, let me go up. That is such a good, yeah, and that's really specific to like when you're working in a document. So for example, here was an outline that I had for today of things that I wanted to talk about. Let's say that I wanted to share this with my wife because I am needy and I always need her help. Notice number one, because it's in a shared folder, all these people have access to it already. Let me bring that back up. All of these people that you see here have access to this document because it lives in a shared folder. However, I can edit any one of their permissions. So for example, let's take, I don't want to mess up Suzanne's, but she's down here at the bottom. Suzanne has full editing rights to this document. But if I wanted to just make her a viewer, I could just click on viewer, and then that's the only kind of editing access, or she can have editing access. She can only view this document here. But I'm going to go back and make her an editor. I'm going to add Jay Rivera at my Putnam Schools. This is my wife. So you'll see when I add a new person here, I can choose at the outset, is this person going to be someone who edits fully, who leaves little comments like we got to resolve this issue with spacing or grammar or something like that, or are they just going to be able to view the document as is? I can set that from right here. I'm going to make her a viewer.
Adam, we're not seeing your screen if you want them to see that.
Thank you. Oh, this is like doing an old time radio show. Like I've taken over for Garrison Keeler, and I just want you to think about it in your head as you're listening from home. This is how we do things in Lake Wobegon. Thank you for that. I appreciate that so much. You have no idea. So you should be able to see. I'm going to go back. That on anything here, except for forms, forms work a little bit differently. And when we do Google Forms, I'll be sure to explain that difference. But for Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, you've got a share button. And here's where I was saying, these are all the people that have editing rights. And I could remove those rights and make them a viewer, a commenter, or I could totally remove them completely. So I'm going to assign, or I'm going to share this with my wife. I'm just going to put, this is a test. Don't worry about it. She gets these all the time from me. And I'm going to make my choice. Do I want her to just view? Yes. Now, editors can change permissions and share. Viewers and commenters can see the option to download, print, and copy. Now, I don't want to change any of that, but I am going to send this to her, and I'm going to share with her anyway, even though she's outside of my domain. And I'm going to go back and look. Here she is right here. This is the account I just shared it with. You can see she's a viewer. Now, I could go even further, and I've done this with students in a model lesson before, was to give them temporary access to a document. And that was access for the period. So I set it up so that they could only edit for a certain window of time. After that window passed, they became a viewer or they lost access to sharing this completely. So that's one of the newer features here, is to give temporary access to a document. And if you're the owner of that, you set the parameters of how long should that person have access. Now, on the other hand, I'm sharing this with someone that I trust, someone in my organization, but down here at the bottom, I could generate a link. So I'm not connecting it to someone's other Google account, but I'm going to send out a link into the world. That operates much more differently. Now, I have mine restricted. Only people that are added to this list can open this document. But I could change that. I could change it to anyone with the link. if anyone with the link across the whole wide world outside of my organization, that means that this document is now searchable via Google. It means it's out in the public. Anyone could find it. Anyone could look at it. Or anyone with the link becomes an editor. That's another way to share with students. Now, if you have Google Classroom, if you got Canvas, if it's all integrated in there, you're just going to be able to share via email. But you could just put a link out there, and if someone has that link, they have access to your document. I hope that was somewhat helpful. All right, well, thank you all so much. That was almost 2.5 hours. If you made it over the long haul, give yourself a pat on the back and treat yourself to something nice. Thank you so much. Please email me if you need anything, and be on the lookout for, once this recording gets done processing, I'll send it out for you. Thank you so much. Good to see you. So many familiar faces left here. Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your afternoons. See you, Karma. See you, Rhonda. See you, Nicole. Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.